I've told them either way. They can do either way, audio or video.
All right. So, now, is this the Seventh-day Adventist group?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm only speaking to Eskimos and Seventh-day Adventists today. I do that every Tuesday.
How are you, Mr. McAfee? Thanks for joining us.
I am good.
We really appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to you. We've been doing this podcast for a little bit now. We like to have fun, so we're all about that. And we figured, what more fun personality in crypto than Mr. John McAfee? So we really appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to you today.
It's a roll of the dice with me. I mean, sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's painful. So I don't know what to do.
That's awesome.
We're looking forward to it either way.
Definitely. So, I've heard a couple interviews and stuff. Obviously, you're one of the most influential guys out there in crypto right now. So, but I've never heard the story of how you very first got into cryptocurrency. Obviously, you're a huge proponent of it, and you're raising the flag everywhere. But how did you first get started?
Well, I was drugged, kicking and screaming into it in 2014 by my friends who were into crypto. In fact, one of my best friends, a guy named Jim Zaromsky, when he said he was mining, I didn't even understand what he was talking about. Good God, what, you're digging for gold or silver? So, but my friend said, you have to read this paper and you have to get into it. So as soon as I read Satoshi's paper, I saw the wisdom and I saw the absolute necessity of it and the fact that it's not going to go away. I mean, he opened Pandora's box. You're not going to stuff everything back in there no matter what. Not governments, not banks, not institutions. The world's simply going to have to get used to cryptocurrency. It's here to stay.
Absolutely. And I think that's more and more people are starting to see that, hopefully, and with your help and getting it out there, we can keep that going. So we did want to ask you, how are you feeling? We saw that a couple weeks ago you were in the hospital with a, I guess, unfortunate incident. We wanted to ask you how you're feeling and if you could tell us anything about that whole situation.
Well, I'm feeling great. I mean, my body is fairly resilient and I recover fast. It was touch and go.
You look great.
Pardon?
You look very healthy. You look great.
Thank you. But no, I can't talk about it for obvious security reasons, but
right.
Maybe someday.
Sure, no problem.
Maybe,
go ahead.
Pardon?
No, go ahead.
Maybe in my memoirs.
Oh,
there we go.
Definitely. I want a signed copy of those, please. So we were actually just talking off air also about, we had seen some stories about you saying, hey, if you were going to run again for president, you'd run for, the possibly independent, possibly libertarian. What would be, your kind of campaign? What would be your stance? What would be the first thing you would even do if you were to ever become president?
Well, number one, I don't want to be president, and becoming president would be an impossibility. When I ran the first time in 2016 on the Libertarian banner, I came close to getting the Libertarian nomination. I was beaten out by Governor Johnson by just a small percentage. Mm-hmm. But even then, I did not want to be president. What I want is the platform. Even if I run under the Libertarian banner and even do not get the nomination, although I'm positive I will this time, simply because of my support group within the Libertarian Party. But even if I did not get the nomination, I still have 10 months of campaigning where I'm on the national stage.
Absolutely.
So I get to debate the other Libertarian Party people on the national stage, and I get to get my ideas out there. And let me tell you something. It's not the president that changes America. It's the process of creating a president. It's a process of choosing a president. Because in that long process of people hammering everybody else, what's wrong with this? What's wrong with that? What's my solution to this? What's my solution to that? In that process, we get a greater depth of understanding of our situation and what's possible and what's not possible. So, no, that's what I want. And I want to talk about crypto and how it's going to change the world for the better or for the worse, depending upon how we utilize it and how we apply it. Because I think that's the most important question and the most important issue facing the world today, not just America, but everybody in the world. We have an opportunity which so far we have misapplied to a horrible degree, taking what could be useful features and functions of blockchain technology and instead saying, oh, this token is going to rise in value, so I'm going to buy it and hold it. Well, what sense is that? But seriously, it's like someone invented the automobile, but nobody's driving it because there are so few of them and they're appreciating in value. So what's the point? So we horribly misapplied it to this point. It's simply a means of making money, which is nothing more than the system that we currently have. So we need to make the world aware of the enormous possibilities of crypto when applied on the platforms that we have today. Provide enormous power. I mean, for example, I think one of the greatest tragedies was of an ICO called Outings. Now, what's Outings? It was a token and an application that, let's say you wanted to go out for a weekend with your family. Mm-hmm. And let's say you like street mimes or street musicians or any kind of street display by artists. Well, if you live in a large city like Los Angeles, there are always tons, but where are they? You know, the chance of randomly coming across one is very slim. But with Outings, everybody who has the app, they'll go by, oh, there's a street musician here playing saxophone. So you put into your Outings. And you might say, it's in Los Angeles if you like the address. It's in a certain sector. If you like the address of where it is, it'll be 10 Outings or whatever you wanted to charge for that. Or let's say you're in a bar and Tom Cruise is there. And so for those people who want to see celebrities in the flesh, you go, hey, I'm in a bar with Tom Cruise. If you want the name of the bar and location, that'll be 100 Outings. So what a great idea.
Absolutely.
Because what it does is it simplifies and enhances and removes the time element of entertainment. Good Lord, what else is there in life other than work and entertainment? No matter how you want to define entertainment. So, but what happened? No, people were, saying, "Oh, what's the coin worth? It's going up, it's going down." To hell with that. Use the freaking app. Use the coins. Sure. So this is what crypto could be or should be, and it's just being misapplied. Now, it will not be misapplied forever. There are shining stars that shine where they are actually being applied. In the healthcare field, Docademic is one of those. I mean, it's throughout Latin America. And people are actually using it, and they have live doctors for free, at least for the first couple of visits. You push a button, and a doctor appears, and you say, "Doctor, this thing on my arm, I don't know what it is." And they said, "Well, show me." So they put the phone, and the doctor says, "Oh, that's just a common skin rash. You need to get whatever, a Neosporin, and put on, you'll be fine." Or he'll go, "I don't know, that looks very dangerous. You need to have that checked out somewhere." Today, they're releasing an equivalent application. With psychological help. Now,
that's interesting.
Psychological help? Well, yes. Veterans, for example, from foreign wars are committing suicide at the rate of 20 per day.
Wow.
And everybody reaches that point where you're about to give up, right? So have free psychological help. Now, how do the psychologists get paid? Well, if you give free help and it's useful and it helps somebody, you can say, well, why don't we can do this regularly for a small amount because it's done over the net, phone to phone. So this is being used, but that's rare. It's very rare to find a token like Docademic. Usually it's something like, Bitcoin or Ethereum, which we're just holding, hoping the price is going to go up.
So how do you spread that message better? Because I think you make a really good point there because, everybody, especially back in November when everything was going to 20,000 and all that stuff, and people were seeing this as, a really kind of almost like a get rich quick, hey, this is the next internet boom. So how can we go about, in your mind, spreading that message better? Because I think it's really important to think of it that way and not just, hey, this will make me rich.
Well, I'm doing that right now on your show, am I not? Because you are going to turn around and broadcast this to lots of people in any way that we can. I mean, just talking about it helps. Showing people the ridiculous. I'm not saying don't make money. I'm not saying don't invest in Bitcoin. That's fine. But please God, don't make it every single token and every single coin. Don't look at it as a means of getting rich. Look at it as a means of changing your life for the better. Right. If we can just get to that point,
I think I heard you talking about outings on another podcast earlier this year, and I remember thinking that it was just such a great idea. I would love to have access to an app like that, and it sucks that it's.
But in order to do it, people have got to stop hoarding the tokens and start using the app, right?
Absolutely.
This is the problem. They're less interested in what the app can do than they are in whether the token is going to go up in value.
Mm-hmm.
So that simply has to change, and I think it will as we get more sophistication and more experience, and people will start seeing the value. Because really, what we want money for, what we want to get rich for, so we can enhance our lives with the things that enhance them. Maybe better cars, but that's what the tokens are supposed to do themselves.
Right. Yeah.
It's counterproductive. Look at them as a store of value rather than a life-enhancing possibility.
Yeah, I think so. How do you? And this is just a question that I always have, because we talked to somebody on the podcast that had been around for since 2009. So back then he was using Bitcoin for currency, and now you kind of see it changing a little bit into this store of value narrative. So I'd be interested in your opinion on that as well.
Well, Bitcoin is a currency. I think as a currency, there are some that are easier, and some that are more preferable to use. I think Ethereum, for example. I mean, we all know that Ethereum, if both parties accept it, is faster and cheaper, and it does exactly the same function. So, and I think this is even going to change. As more and more privacy coins come out, like Monero, you're going to see people who are finally realizing that even with Bitcoin or Ethereum, everything you do can be tracked. Everything.
Right.
Absolutely.
They can watch your Ethereum move from one wallet to another wallet to another.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they don't know who's the owner of that wallet, but you can certainly infer a lot.
Absolutely.
So if people don't like that, knowing that the government can track them, knowing that your neighbors can track you, knowing that anybody you've ever sent an ether to can track you, you might want to think about privacy coins. So I think more and more privacy coins are going to reach the center stage. And in terms of a method of payment, whether it's Monero or Bitcoin, Bitcoin Private or whatever, they are going to be more and more used, because who does not want privacy?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Who actually would prefer that everybody see what you're doing with your money?
Yeah, you brought up a good point about your neighbors knowing what you're doing. I mean,
yes.
if you paid your lawn man would know that's your wallet address, and he could see whatever you had spent money on ever.
Absolutely.
We don't have access to anybody's bank account. We can't see that now. Why would we want that in the future?
Yes, and so this is the problem that will be solved and can be solved now by simply switching. I think Monero is the most widely used privacy coin. Mm-hmm. It's not universal. But if you go onto the dark web, that's virtually all that people will accept, right? So I don't know which it will be, but one of them or some of them will end up. What's that? Okay. Weather warning. Yeah, we're living in a storm here. So yes, I don't know which it will be, or it will be a number of them. But privacy coins will take the center stage as payment, because nobody would prefer that your neighbor, your gardener, the government, and everybody you've ever sent money to or received money from knows exactly what's in your wallet. Mm-hmm. And who in the world wants that? So they will come, and they will take center stage.
So that's an interesting point too. So that kind of leads me into thinking, be interested in your opinion on regulation, and especially here in the U.S. with kind of how it's being treated so far. Do you think it's necessary? Do you think we are seeing some good movement towards that, or what's your opinion there?
You're asking a very radical person that question.
Right, well, that's why,
we know. That's why we want to know.
Anything that's good has ever come from any regulation, ever. Because what is a regulation? A regulation is designed to protect the innocent or the untutored, the unaware. Because if you're taking care of yourself and you know exactly what situation you're in, you're going to be cautious. You're going to be suspicious. You're going to trust no one, which is what life is all about. But if you're not, why the hell are you in the space?
Right.
When you come out to the Dodge City, you don't have a gun. You don't want to learn how to use a gun. and you expect to walk into a bar and order a drink with no problem? I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way. This is the world.
That's a good point.
If you look at the highly regulated sections of our government, the most regulated is the Food and Drug Administration.
Right.
Now, what does that mean? It means, for example, I had a surgery for cataracts a month and a half ago. Now, the doctor told me that the best he could do was still not good enough because the FDA has not approved the good stuff that the Germans, the British, and the French and every other country has been using for 5 years.
Exactly.
Why? Because the FDA has not approved it. Please God, who is that helping?
Yeah.
Who is? Life is a risky business, and you are responsible for yourself. So no, I don't believe in regulations, and I think that regulations do nothing but impede, because those of us who do know what to do are restricted by the regulations of those that don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. So we have to adhere to a world designed for idiots. That's what regulation is.
That's very true.
To be treated like an idiot, I would rather take responsibility for myself and move on. But no, did you show me one single regulation ever by a government, even if it's a law to protect everybody, like in the 1930s, alcohol is bad, you may not fucking drink it. More alcohol was consumed during that period than in all of U.S. history.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't work. It cannot work. You cannot change people's behaviors. I'm sorry. They change themselves when they see that they hit a brick wall. You become addicted to cocaine, you lose your wife, your job, your car, and all of your money. Pretty soon it becomes really clear.
You're going to learn. Yeah.
But saying you may not use cocaine, that doesn't work. It just simply goes, it must be good stuff. The government doesn't want to see. So no, I don't believe in regulations, and that's my answer.
No, that's a great answer, and I think it's interesting because I think the government is trying to stifle or not stifle innovation, but I don't know. It's a tough scenario in the U.S. and
they're not trying to stifle anything. They're trying to cement their own position. Mm-hmm. The SEC, for example, the SEC wants to control everything involving a transaction or a movement of money from one party to another, any business thing. And why? Because the more responsibility you have, then the more people you get to hire, and the larger your budget, and the more important you become. Yeah. This is human nature. I'm sorry. And so, no, they're trying to reach into crypto is absolutely absurd. The Supreme Court made a judgment in the 50s that they gave 3 absolutely necessary conditions to exist before you can call something a security. None of those fit. None of those can be applied to crypto, and yet the SEC still insists they're securities, we're going to control it. It's the overreaching of every branch of the government. This happens in all governments, not just ours. The more power you get, the more corrupt you become. This is just a fact of life.
Yeah, awesome. So I appreciate that. So you mentioned a couple projects that you are interested in, obviously academic outings, things like that. We wanted to, know a couple other ones that you might be thinking about. But the one thing I did want to ask first, I've been following your Twitter and everything. What is BitFi and why should I have it?
Well, BitFi, okay, I'm calling it unhackable. People claim there is no such thing. And under the old paradigm of thinking, where you have a processor and applications that protect you, they're absolutely correct. Anything with an app or memory can be hacked. But this device has no memory and it has no applications. It is a hardware device that simply takes a phrase that you get to choose in your head and converts that phrase on the fly into your seed keys, creates a wallet on the fly, does what you want, like send or receive, terminates the wallet, and everything goes back into your head. Really, your head becomes the wallet. Your brain becomes the wallet. And if you can remember a simple 30-character phrase, which is more than the largest supercomputers could ever randomly find in a million years, then if you can remember that phrase, it's unhackable. Now, sure, someone could kidnap you and start removing your fingers and ask you for the phrase, but then the wallet has another thing. You can choose a fake account or a fake thing, or as many as you want, and put a few Bitcoin in there or a few Ethereum. If you have lots of money, then put a small amount in there.
So then they think they got
here's my key, and you give it to them, and they say, "Oh my God, it's only $5,000. Why did we kidnap this guy?" So it has that feature as well. But we can't prevent people from voluntarily or under duress giving up their code. We can't keep people from being foolish and telling it to their wife when, unbeknownst to them, their wife is having an affair with a neighbor and she's planning on leaving you anyway, right? So, no, we can't protect from stupidity. But if you follow the very simple instructions, it is unhackable because there's no memory on the device and no software.
Yeah.
It is simply a translator that translates your phrase into seed keys. End of story.
That's really interesting because that to me also says, I mean, I don't have one personally yet, but I will probably be getting one because I think it's pretty cool. You could technically lose it then, correct? And as long as you have
just buy another one. Just buy another one, and it fits right in. It takes your phrase and gives you exactly your seed keys.
So as long as you have your seed key.
It's pretty amazing. No, as long as you have your phrase, okay. It's hard to remember seed keys. That's 10 or 12 words that are random, and I can't do that. But you get to choose your phrase. McAfee says to be or not to be. Okay, what are the chances of someone else choosing that phrase, right?
Right.
And to try to randomly find that phrase, almost impossible because of the near infinite combinations of 30 characters. Yeah. Not just the numbers, but 30 characters. It's not just 1 through 10, but we have almost 30. Well, plus the numbers, almost 40 characters per unit in that 30 character string. I mean, so the chances of randomly finding it are 1 in many, many quintillions.
That's pretty interesting. I'm definitely going to look into that a little more. How about any other projects that you're interested in?
We're coming out. We've made 2 attempts abortive to release our McAfee market cap. It's the first absolutely real time where with every transaction you'll see the numbers changing. First real time market cap program with features you couldn't believe. It's got once you become a member and once you log in. Once you've logged in, you have features that you don't normally have just for driving by. You can have chats with other users, group chats, followers like on Twitter. It's a social as well as a crypto product. So the problem is that the 2 times that I've released it, the number of followers that I have that go there are many thousands per second.
Right.
And I've brought down our servers both times. So with this 3rd time, probably in the next 24 hours, we've upgraded our cloud service to an unlimited, allegedly, of transactions, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think you will love it.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. I do have to ask you a question. So, with this blockchain, I've been a part of a couple like blockchain collectibles projects, and I've been interested in that as far as how blockchain can prove ownership and maybe change something like digital art and things like that.
Yes,
what's your opinion on something like that?
Well, I'm coming out with the McAfee Redemption Unit myself, which is a mix between fiat and crypto. It's artwork. It's each bill, and it's the size of a dollar bill, with incredible artwork.
I think I've seen that on Twitter.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm having it done in Mexico, simply because I couldn't get a U.S. monetary printer to accept my business.
Right.
So,
that's awesome.
And in Mexico,
regulation.
and so we're a month and a half late, but I think it's on the way now. So I'm doing that, and each bill is a collectible item, and yet you can turn them in for tokens, which then can be traded on an exchange. And speaking of exchanges, I'm coming out with the McAfee exchange in a month, and hopefully it's going to be unlike any other exchange because the exchanges are the gods of this industry, and they become egotistical and arrogant and corrupt overnight. Why? Because you've got billions of dollars in deposits, and they're in your account. Well, you can do what you want with them. You can lend them out. You can, wait until the price right. You can do anything you want. And then you've got exchanges like HitBTC. First of all, who are they? Where are they? You don't know. You can't find what country they're in, an address. You can't find an owner, a director, nothing. All you get is odd tech support messages through email, which are untraceable, with probably bogus names, and yet they have billions of dollars worth of crypto. Now, the letters that we've gotten from my user base are horrendous, the way that they treat customers. Waiting for months before they release your funds. What are they doing with it in the meantime? I'm sure they're doing something, making money. So no. So the McAfee exchange it's basically based on a forex exchange, foreign exchange, which is really what this should be in any case. A company that's been in business for quite a while, and we are hopefully not going to develop that arrogance.
So how is that built to work?
Which is service to your customers.
How is that built to work? Something, say, different than Binance or even like a decentralized exchange like IDEX.
Well, okay, we've been running it in test mode with almost $100 million a day with the existing clients of the forex exchange that wanted to do crypto. Number one, we're much faster, and once you become a member, there's no wait time. We turn things around, and you have what you've deposited within minutes rather than days or weeks, with sometimes months with some of these exchanges. And you don't have to jump through hoops to validate yourself like you have to do with some of the exchanges. They want.
Oh my God!
Pardon?
I hate that.
I know.
You have to go through 32 steps and picture on your forehead and all this crap.
Do you have crypto or not? If you have the crypto, send it to us.
Right?
Okay, end of story. So no, we're not doing that madness because that's insane. That's a sign of arrogance. We will only accept you as a customer if we want to accept you. Well, bullshit. We will accept you as a customer if you've got the money. Okay, you got the crypto, you want to exchange it, you're a customer. Now, you don't have to give us your name, address, and things of that nature, simply because we are obligated to a certain extent to know at least who we're dealing with and what country you're in. But beyond that, that's it. So I think you will find it to be a user-friendly and a completely non-arrogant exchange. I'm hoping it's going to be a reflection of my deeper personality, which is very humble.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. I think you make a good point about the exchanges because, even places like Binance, they're obviously probably the leader right now, but even just to get coins listed on there, it's like a king's ransom just to get.
Oh yes, you got to buy a Lambo plus pay their outrageous fees, and even then they choose no. Right. So yeah, it's like and then some of them give the excuse, well, the SEC. Well, the SEC has virtually no power on most of these exchanges. They're overseas, which is a total nonsense reason. So, it's just arrogance, and it's the power that they have. If, in fact, the world were only the world of crypto, then the exchanges would be the equivalent of the robber barons in the medieval ages, right?
Totally.
Absolutely. I have to backtrack when we were talking about the collectibles and the blockchain, art on blockchain, because I actually have McAfee art on the blockchain.
Yes. Have you seen this?
And I need to know, have you seen art? Yes. Have you heard of Pepe Dap?
No.
Pepe, the frogs.
Oh, Pepe, yes, of course.
There are little trading cards on Pepe Dap. It's on Ethereum. Yeah. And my first card that I ever bought was a frog McAfee.
Yes. Really? I've never seen it.
Hold on. If you've never seen it.
It's actually a real card?
You've never seen it? We got to show him.
No, I don't get out much, and people don't tell me.
So
it's a digital card.
It's not a trading card. Well, it's a digital trading card, right?
Right.
But it's,
yes.
Can you see my desktop? It says I'm sharing it. Can you see it?
I can see me.
Yes.
I can see.
Hold on. Here you go. Ready?
Yep.
There it is. Frog
Wait.
McAfee.
No way.
So that is on Pepe Dap, and that you have. So this was created by a crypto artist, and it's pretty cool. I'll show you really quick. This is bad radio, but there's the whole marketplace here with all these people with all these cards. So they actually made one. They made
Did
one.
they tell how many have been printed? And
yes, they do.
Yes.
So
yeah.
There are.
Well, I need to buy some for me.
Yes, you can. So there's Elon Musk has one. Dennis Frogman.
Yes.
There's a Trump. There's a Zuckerberg. There's Kanye West. So hold on. So here you go.
There's a Satoshi.
There's Roger Ver.
Roger Ver.
So
Roger Ver gets a bad rap. I am sorry.
I love Roger Ver.
I never understood why Roger had any following at all until last year in Hong Kong. where we keynoted what the conference that should have been held in China, which China banned any talk of crypto at that time. So we moved it on. But he got up on the stage, and good God, that guy is one of the most charismatic people in the world.
Yeah.
So
He really is. Yeah.
But in person, I'd rather shoot myself in the foot than have dinner with him. It's not that he's boring, but he's boring. I guess that's it. So, but on stage, oh hell yes! I mean that dude rocks on stage.
Well, so it's funny you're talking about other crypto personalities. We wanted to ask you, who throws the best crypto parties?
Everybody knows that. Brock Pierce. Good God.
I heard your podcast
in
on another one
Bucharest,
about
okay?
Brock.
Last year in Bucharest, I have never seen anything like it. Okay, so Brock invited me to keynote. It was one of his D10E conferences, and I've done Brock for quite a while. He's the party animal of them. So he went and took all of the speakers to Dracula's castle. So we all went. And on the way back, he distributed ecstasy to everybody. Had a sound system with speakers in the bus and started playing music, and we all were singing to it. And like when we stopped to get gas, get food, or to take a leak or something, people looked at us like we were aliens because we were just kind of weird. I'm sure a bus full of people were coming off all on ecstasy, and then they went on for 3 or 4 days. During which time Brock had to speak a couple of times. How he does it, I do not have a fucking clue. But no, Brock Pierce, he throws the best party of any man on this planet.
That's awesome. Cynthia, we need to figure out how to get some invites to those parties.
Please.
Speaking of that, I saw you tweet yesterday a story about having a fan come to your house that you...
Oh, my God.
Oh my God, that was amazing. I was laughing
so
hard.
A total wacko. Total wacko. I mean, like he was just telling the most bizarre stories. Everything was a lie. And we finally decided the dude's got to leave now. So I asked him to leave in the morning. He didn't. I asked him to leave at noon. He said, I need to take a nap. For an hour after the nap, he said, I've got to pack. It took him an hour to pack. Then he said, I can't find my car keys. So he said, I left him in the kitchen, which is bullshit because he didn't come to the kitchen when he first got here. So I finally had him forcibly evicted. And then he sent me probably 200 texts.
Oh,
all of
God.
Very angry, very graphic, calling me whore, pussy, you name it. And it just went on. So finally, just blocked his number.
That's crazy.
Totally wacko. Totally.
Man.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we want an invite to the party, and we won't be that weird.
Well, listen, if you go to Brock's party, there's no such thing as weird. He took us to an underground club in, I think it was the next night. Things after the ecstasy thing sort of fell into just a blend of, I couldn't distinguish one thing from another, but to a club, I think the following night, the likes of which I have never seen.
If you've never seen it, it must be crazy.
That's very true.
I noticed that there were really weird acts going on the stage between beautiful women and muscular men and you name it. So
awesome.
So he knows the places to go, not just throwing a party. He knows the places to go. And then other times, like, let me tell you, so he invited me to his place in California, right on the canals. Beautiful place. And I was in town, so I came over. And that day, he had a violinist out on the canal, a professional, playing the sweetest, most heart-rending music you have ever heard. And it was very quiet. And the only drugs I saw there were alcohol and weed. What did I saw anyway? And everyone was just sitting, listening to this music. And literally, I finally went out and stood right by the violinist because the music just attracted me. It drew me in like the sirens of legends. And I was literally crying.
Wow.
Because a good violinist can rend the heart.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
Any other musician. And so that's the other side of rock. Where it's not wild and crazy, but it's pretty fucking deep. So he's a man of many talents.
That's very cool.
And a very good friend.
Very cool.
We often lead each other astray.
Aren't those the best friends to have, though? That's exactly.
Yeah.
All of my best friends are the exact same way. So.
Right.
Anyway.
So I'm a connoisseur of legal research chemicals. Why? Because they're infinitely better than the old standbys of heroin and cocaine and speed and all that other nonsense. Far more powerful, far more predictable, and a lot more fun. And they're legal, right?
I just read a story this morning about a company that Mike Novogratz had invested in that was researching psychedelics for the treatment of depression and anxiety, and it was very interesting, and the research was amazing.
Yes. Well, not just that. Here's the thing with research chemicals. Until the FDA gets their hands on it and goes through their years of research, it's legal, right? Because if it's not listed, it's not illegal. So what happens is, and everybody knows that the FDA will finally make it illegal, like they did with MDPV, which probably should be illegal, actually. But years before the FDA finally make it illegal, they've come up with an analog, total different chemical structure, which is legal. Mm-hmm. So I'm a fan of these things, and so from time to time I pass them on to Brock, who doesn't have the time to research like I do. And I've always been into researching, drugs and their effect on the body and the mind. Not that I'm a specialist, but I've certainly consumed more than the two of you could ever carry.
Speaking of what it does to your mind, and that the same articles that I was reading, it was amazing when they talked about the transformation, the positive transformations in your brain that take place after, like, say, a trip on mushrooms, psilocybin, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah, psilocybin. That's a fairly mild psychedelic.
DMT. Have you ever tried DMT?
And the peyote cactus buttons, I think, are very similar in their effect. But again, very mild compared to the new age research chemicals that produce similar but far deeper and more profound reactions in the brain. Absolutely.
Have you ever tried DMT?
Oh, yes, many times. I've actually overdosed on DMT. I would not advise it.
Not advised.
So
it's. I'm glad you said that, because our third host wanted us to ask you specifically about DMT, so now you may have kept it on.
I've taken as much DMT as he could carry, I'm sure. But let me tell you, these are nothing compared to the psychedelic, the new research chemicals coming out of Russia and certain parts of China. Even though China's trying to crack down heavily on it, they're still producing. The most powerful drug I've ever taken is MDPV, methylene dioxypyrovalerone. And that is, I think everybody who's taken it will say it is the most powerful drug on the planet. Wow. The problem with it is it's got a very narrow band of dosage, 5 milligrams. You can't even get a scale that's going to measure 5 milligrams, is about the max dose. We're trying to measure out 5 milligrams without a scale that costs less than $10,000. Right. So people were eyeballing, right? So
oh God.
If you take 10 milligrams, you are going to have a trip that you will never fucking forget. It's not going to be pleasant. If you remember some years back where the man ate someone's face off in Florida.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
He was on MDPV.
Oh. And I live in Florida, and everything crazy happens here.
Pardon?
I live in Florida. I'm here in Florida now, and everything crazy that happens in the news, it's here in Florida.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, that was pretty crazy, but that was MDPV.
It was insane.
Now, I've taken probably 1 kilogram of MDPV while it was legal, and I know for a fact that you do not ever want to go over that dosage line because there's a change in your brain that is impossible to understand unless you've experienced it. Right. Where everything becomes so intense. And by the way, MDPV is the only drug I know that gives tactile hallucinations. So you might be standing in line at the bank and you're feeling somebody giving you head, and you actually so it's like it's actually fucking happening.
What?
Yes. Or no, it's a crazy drug because I've never experienced that. And most of my hallucinations have been auditory or visual, but tactile. I mean, it's hard to deal with, right? So So you're reaching down trying to pull somebody's head off of your crotch, and there's nobody there, right?
That's amazing.
Oh, no, it's a strange fucking drug. That's the most powerful, and certainly the one that I would not recommend people try just out of curiosity. I mean, you've got to be a serious psychonaut.
Probably tested the waters with some less potent things before.
The tested with something like alpha PHP, okay, which is maybe 1/20th as powerful, but gives similar things without the tactile hallucinations, which you could do without anyway. I promise you.
It sounds like it. That's probably how the guy tried to eat the guy's face. He was probably reacting to something like that.
Yeah, something absolutely.
I thought it was like his dinner plate. I thought it was a nice juicy steak or something. Who knows?
Exactly.
Why are you fucking me in the butt? You know, it's like, who knows?
There it is.
I mean, seriously, you want a spooky experience. A tactile hallucination. You're just not prepared for it. It's just not prepared.
I mean, hallucinating oral sex doesn't sound that bad.
You try it out and try to function. And that's
in the bank.
MDPV will last for 48 hours.
Oh my God.
And then after that, you're not going to sleep for another 3 days.
Oh my God.
So no, I'm trying to function. Having tactile hallucinations is absolutely not possible. It really is not.
That's crazy. Well, I'm glad we got our third host was very sad he couldn't be here because he wanted to ask you about those. So I'm glad we got those for him. Awesome. We want to wrap up in a couple minutes, but we respect your time. We just want to give you a couple like rapid fire things. What was your favorite drug was on there? We'll skip that one. What's your favorite food?
My favorite what?
What's your favorite food?
Raspberries.
What's your favorite drink?
Scotch, single malt. Doesn't matter what brand.
All right. How about your favorite car?
Well, it depends. So it depends on what you want. I mean, if I'm on the beach, I want a dune buggy, made from a Jeep Wrangler. If I'm trying to pick up an important person, I'd like my Bentley convertible. And if I want a nice, comfortable ride for a long distance, I'll take the Lincoln Navigator. So it depends on function.
I have a feeling this next one will depend on function too. What's your favorite gun?
See, that definitely depends on function. Number one, am I inside the house or out? Do I need something that's going to go through a doorway sideways? So I'm not going to have a long shotgun. But for handguns, I have two. One is the Glock 17. The other one is the FN57. That's the one that has bullets that look like rifle bullets. Both of them are awesome sidearms, and I have both. I'm carrying my Glock now. I always carry a gun, always. And usually, if I'm alone, the gun is not in my holster; it's in my hand. So, actually,
ready to go.
For a long gun, I prefer shotgun, 00 buckshot. In a semi-automatic. That way you don't have to pump. That way, if you can find a way to hold the muzzle on something, you can fire with one hand and fire your pistol with the second hand, which I'm very adept at, by the way.
I hope I never have to find that out.
Yes, I do too.
Awesome. Well, so we just have one more. We got to bring it up. I feel like it's something everybody brings up every time they talk to you now. That since you made the bold bet of eating your dick on national television if Bitcoin doesn't hit 1 million by 2020. Yes. So we're not going to ask you, how or what. So you said your favorite drink is Scotch.
Yes.
What Scotch do you think would pair best with dick?
I don't like the Highland Scotches, Balvenie, 14 years or something like that.
That's perfect.
But listen, eating my dick is not going to happen because by 2020, if you just run some freaking numbers, just the massive rise in the number of businesses accepting Bitcoin and the massive rise in the number of people using it, and the fact that Bitcoin, really, if you take the 4 million that are lost, only has 17 million even after it's all mined out. Well, there are 40 million millionaires. What if every one of them just wanted one Bitcoin? Well, you can't. I'm sorry, not enough to go around. Please God, what numbers? So no, it has to be $1 million by the end of 2020. And if I'm wrong, then mathematics is wrong.
Well, we here at REKT Podcast, we believe in that statement, and we wanted to show some solidarity. So myself and our other co-host that's not here, we wanted to tell you that we would be willing to eat half your dick if you are wrong. So, we're in
listen, if the world of math is in fact wrong, and I do have to, I'm going to sublet that task to a Bangkok prostitute. And make sure that she eats it over a period of 4 or 5 years. So everything will be fine. All right.
Perfect. So just in case, we got your back over here at REKT Podcast. So that's all we had. That's all we had, Mr. McAfee. We really, really appreciate your time. We wanted to. Thanks for coming on with us, Cynthia. You got anything else?